Hi guys, thank you so much for coming to the final Jazzonia of this year. My name is Kendolyn Walker. I've been serving as the curator and just been blessed with the opportunity that the National Jazz Museum in Harlem has given me. I want to take a moment and introduce the band that you just heard, the awesome band. On keys, our pianist, we have Hayward Woody Matthews. Let's give him a round of applause, please. On bass, we have, let me step out so you can see him. On bass, we have Kenji Tokunaga. Let's give him a round of applause. On drums, we have Durant. And on electric guitar, we have Kenneth Gypsy Simpson. So we're honoring the music of jazz legends Dorothy, Donegan, and Nina Simone. The two spoken word artists that will be joining the stage momentarily will be performing their own work to select jazz covers by those two lovely ladies. The first poet that we have coming is a dear friend of mine, and both of the poets tonight have performed at the Langston Hughes house, and this whole Jazzonia curation is part of Langston's legacy, as he was the original and the pioneers of jazz poetry. So the first poet that we have coming up is Erika Renée. She was born in the Bronx. She's based in Manhattan, and she is a poet and a photographer. So let's just welcome her as she shares her gift with us. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. All right. Let me get myself organized. This first poem is a short piece that I wrote a couple years ago for my niece, who was nobody saw that, who was a preemie, but she is a fighter and I love her. So I wrote this poem for her, and it's called Letters to My Newborn Niece. So. My little niece, Victoria, was born at 21 weeks and 3 days, which is about 3 months before her due time. At her first breath, she was only 2 pounds and 6 ounces and already was the talk of the town. One of her first accomplishments was that she slapped the nurse and took the IVs out of her arm. When my sister sent me the video of her doing this, I laughed and I said, wow, this girl is so thug life. I honestly couldn't be more proud. When Victoria had her first apartment in my sister's womb, she did not like to be photographed. Every time the doctors tried to check on her to see how she's doing, she would turn her body around or cross her legs. Victoria is not a fan of the paparazzi, and she will not be pried into without permission. When I finally met my niece in the NICU, she was surrounded by buzzing noises and alarms and beeps, but she was laying on her side, fast asleep and unbothered. It was then I knew that Victoria could do anything. To my niece Victoria, at the time of me writing this, you only know the world of your hospital bed, the faces of your mother and father, the doctors and nurses, but I imagine you are already prepared for the world and what's out there and beyond. I imagine when God formed your fists, I imagine when God formed your hands, he shaped them like little fists and gave you boxing lessons before your brain could take shape. You already knew how to spar. In fact, your mother already remembers your first roundhouse kick. In the NICU, you're the only baby that isn't hooked up to a life support machine. That is a metaphor in itself. I imagine that when you reach the first grade, the teachers will ask you, pick a letter that starts with V, and you will pick Victorious. And you will write that beside your name in lopsided, gigantic letters using markers that smell like blueberries. When the kids try to pull at your hair and attempt to dissect your biracial curls, you will slap their hands away for them questioning you why you are so different. You will tell them that there is great power in your uniqueness. I imagine that when you become a teenager and things start to get a little bit complicated, you'll remind yourself that you have fought to live since you were in the womb, and there just isn't enough reason for you to stop now. You come from a lineage of strong women who know how to take a beating and keep it moving. You'll be determined to keep our legacy going. But for now, as you rest in that hospital bed, I wait for you in anticipation for all that you will do. I know deep down inside, you're already fully aware of that. Because you came 3 months too early to a world that's so eager to know you. By the way, P.S., when you get older and you experience your first heartbreak, your mother will have to console you. But remember your auntie. And I was born with fists too, and I'm always willing to fight for you. Thank you. Awesome. So this next poem is a new poem. I wrote it very recently. It honestly is a first draft, so forgive me, it's a little rough. But this poem is called My Mama Teaching Me to Be Sassy. The first time my mama taught me how to be sassy, we were in juniors on a Saturday. She was telling me her work stories over roast beef sandwiches and slices of cheesecake, as if we were old girlfriends as opposed to mother and daughter, woman and child. And when a drop of cheesecake grazed her blue satin blouse, she told me to get the waiter and asked him to bring her some napkins. And I remember being so nervous, and that's when she looked at me and she said, if you want to get somewhere in life, you ought to be bold. Ask for what you want. Don't wait for others to see you in distress. Be the first to move and to speak. And then no matter what life throws at you, be sure to give it a smile and wrap yourself in a really good outfit. That day was so long ago. Long are the times I would rest in my mother's bosom for comfort or listen to her stories over lunch, as now I am a woman who has been her way around the sun a couple of times and has her own stories to tell. And sometimes, y'all, life be hard. Sometimes the last thing I want to do is be bold or sassy. I'd rather curl up on the couch next to some popcorn and rather not move. But then I remember juniors on that one fateful Saturday. And you know, maybe I don't have cheesecake falling on my satin blue blouse. And I don't have to ask the waiter for some extra napkins. But I do what my mama done taught me, and that's to be sassy. Pick yourself up, child. Be the first to move. Because sometimes being sassy means that you have to fight like you got it all together. But then there are other times when being sassy means just smiling, putting on a smile, and wearing a beautiful outfit. I was trying to organize my life, y'all. I'm trying so hard to drop the papers. Okay, I'm gonna hold the paper in my hand because they don't want to cooperate with me, but it's okay, it's okay. So this one is also another new poem of mine. I think I've always been writing a poem like this, but it's like the first time I've decided to perform something like this. So this is called Ode to New York City because I love it here, so why not? Ode to New York City, this metal and brick-laden town of misfits, both new and old. This is for the gentrifier and the gentrified, because no matter where you stand on this gritty starting line, we are both filled with hope and possibility. Ode to the tourist traps, enticing outsiders with Times Square's glittering eyes and the luscious body of the Empire State, not knowing they're both surrounded by a bear trap of sharp teeth and high costs of living. Ode to the corner store, the ghetto saving grace. From Octopop, hot Cheetos, and scratch-offs, they behold a charm that would make a CVS store feel jealous. And you know I gotta give an ode to the chopped cheese, or a bacon, egg, and cheese if that's what you please. A meal fit for a budget-friendly king and queen, tired from pounding the pavement with roaring tummies at 3 o'clock in the morning. Ode to the bodega cat, how can I leave out that? Perched on the bottom shelf between the Wonder Bread and a box of cereal, there she lays on her throne, curled up ever so gently, tapping her paws to the beat, watching you closely, so closely. And you know I gotta give an ode to that subway. So ode to the subway. Your many colorful lines with destinations often leads us nowhere, yet everywhere at the same time. You are that old lost lover we can't help but to run back to, even though nothing about you will ever change. So ode to the subway rats. Proof that Master Splinter may actually exist. If there is anyone in this place that will survive this city, it will surely be you and the many trash cans that you dare to call home. Ode to the blizzard, dusting yourself on our sidewalks and cars until they become buried and frozen over. You see, not many things can stop this town from a buzzing, but when you arrive, we stop in awe, watching you erase the ground like God wanted to start over. So ode to the lights, the only true blanket of stars I've ever known. Millions of balls of blinding gas supplied by Con Edison. We often take you for granted until the blackout arrives, or on a drive back from another place and see you glowing in the skyline from afar. And while I'm here, ode to the pizza. Oh my yes, the pizza. Flat, crispy, sometimes doughy, pepperoni or extra cheese. Regardless of how you have it, it just matters that you fold it. That's all that matters to me. And lastly, ode to the rent. Good God Almighty, ode to the rent. We must be all just a little bit crazy, right? To pay so much money for so little square footage. But can you blame us if we're a little bit cranky sometimes, or even a little bit rude? But let me tell you, I promise you, we mean well. But man, when it comes down to that rent, that guy was absolutely right. That rent is really just too damn high. Thank you. These papers work with me. Okay. This is what I get for not memorizing poems. But anyway, it's okay. So this poem is a oldie but goodie. I perform it every single time people ask me to perform things. It's definitely one of my favorite poems ever. So quick short story. A couple years ago, I was walking down 14th Street, and I don't know if you guys know those, now they're like charging stations, and they have like little screens on them or whatever. So I was walking home one day, walking to the train station rather one day, and I saw they were flashing Black History Month facts. And they showed a fact that actually made me stop, being like, what, really? We did that? So I wrote a whole poem about it, and I hope you guys enjoy. And this is called Drenched Black Joy. was a kid, it was never too hard to tell when Black History Month was approaching. The bulletin boards would be adorned with African prints, and the faces of our history would be scattered all around the classroom. Madam C.J. Walker, Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, Malcolm X, Sojourner Truth, and of course, the great Dr. King Jr. And yet, in all of my years of schooling, nobody had the nerve to let me know that a Black man invented the water gun called the Super Soaker. His name is Lonnie G. Johnson, inventor, Air Force veteran, chemical engineer, and I believe an advocate of Black joy. Every summer, I remember hearing the screams and laughter on my block of young Black boys and young Black girls chasing each other with super soakers, distracting themselves from Brooklyn's oppressive heat that often drives the hood to do crazy and unforgivable things. I remember the week the news came out about the 2 Black boys getting arrested for bringing knives to school. It was the same week that my classmate Deshaun Jones stuck a super soaker in his backpack to shock us all at recess. And when he did, we all ganged up, filling up cups and bottles at the water fountain just so that we could fight back. And after that, when we were sent to the principal's office, with our uniforms drenched and our hair glistening and our parents pissed off, none of us could deny that that day was a dang good day. What I love most about being Black is that it hardly takes much to spark Black joy. In fact, I think about the snaps of the double Dutch rope as it slaps the pavement, or the pounding of feet as we jump in the middle at just the right moment. I think about how us girls would watch the boys try to outdunk each other. It was always magical to see Black boys become angels, and basketball was one of the rare moments we ever got to see them fly. When Lonnie G. Johnson's water gun toy hit the market in 1990, it was initially called the Power Drencher. 30 years prior to its release, the Power Drencher could be synonymous with the powers that be that drenched us with fire hoses, tossing our bodies like plastic bags all over the pavement. But perhaps, deep down, Lonnie wanted to drive the power into our own hands, to drench out anything that dared to threaten our joy. Perhaps he wanted to change the way that Black kids got a hold of real guns and desired to create a substitute that would spit out laughter instead of blood. Maybe he wanted to maintain Blackness, like how Black boys can do so much more than drop out and disappear. They can dream and create. And maybe the thing about how Black girls are so angry isn't true. Maybe our lips just can't help but to show off our strength. Or maybe, just maybe, he wanted to show that we're not always afraid of the water, and that we'll always embrace it as long as it makes us feel safe. And safety ain't something we often feel. But as Black kids, armed with super soakers in the dead of summer, we stand firm, ready to defend our fun and happiness and joy at any cost. So I have one more poem. This is also another new poem, and I am praying I don't stumble through this. But honestly, and I hope I don't sound a certain way, but I love writing about positive things. So I go to a lot of poetry events, and there's a lot of trauma on the floor. There's a lot of people spilling out what we see in the news, and I believe it's okay to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge it. It's healthy. But I also think it's important for us to focus on the other things too. So this is another poem that I recently wrote. It's about, again, Black joy, just a little bit of a different perspective. But yeah, so I just called it When I Think About Blackness. I didn't really make up a full title yet, but that's what it is. So yay. These days, when I think about blackness, I want to think about the good times. I want to be like an old married couple clamoring over photographs and the first time they said, I love you. I want to look at my skin, think about the hope that God stitched into every yard of this caramel fabric. I want to think about the love and intention he had in making sure I was baked the right color, a golden brown baby. That's me. These days, when I think about blackness, I want to think about the good times. I want to sit in silence and randomly laugh at something I saw on Black Twitter. You know, it always amazes me how much of a race web we are, that we're born in different households and environments, and yet we have the same experiences that we can collectively joke about. These days, when I think about blackness, I want to think about the good times. I want to view art that was spilled out of a black mind, read poems written by black hands, see movies tell stories with black bodies. I want to escape into a new kind of reality, a reality that we can only create. These days, when I think about blackness, I want to think about the good times. I want to bask into the childhood of mine that smelled like hot combs and lustrous pink lotion, my scalp glistening from blue magic hair grease, my hair twisted together in cornrows and braids, weighed down by barrettes and hair clips that would inevitably get lost by the end of the school day. These days, when I think about blackness, I want to think about the good times. I want to think about the family cookouts in the park where everyone showed up 2 hours late than expected. The smell of hot dogs and hamburgers flooding into the air while the kids sipped on Capri Suns and Kool-Aids and the adults on beer and wine coolers, playing old school music that would eventually break out into an electric slide. Speaking of which, when it comes to games and such, these days when I think about blackness, I want to think about the good times. Like, who exactly taught us how to play spades? Like, at least Uno came with instructions. But all I know is that ain't nothing more embarrassing than being the one at the game that doesn't know how to count books properly. Because there's an unwritten rule that when it comes to card games for us black folk, spades is king. These days when I think about blackness, I want to think about the good times. Like when we put aside our differences, pet peeves, and beliefs, and we come together and march, taking a stand, one nation under God and fists, mixing our voices in an overcrowded melting pot, spilling into the street for a single cause. And while the reasons we may stand together in those moments are certainly bitter, the glue that makes us stay together is certainly sweet. These days, when I think about blackness, I want to think about the good times. I want to dwell in those moments of unity, where joy is a collective hoping to be heard. Blackness, though often threatened, is something that should be behold. And you know, these days, when I still think about blackness, and I still think about the good times, all I can do is smile. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, Erika. That was so good. Can we give her another round of applause, please? So good. I love the mother, the poem you told about your mom, and it just matched the song so perfectly. It was like a sassy beat even. So just thank you so much to you and the band. And I apologize, I didn't wipe the mic off before you talked after me, so, you know, everything's good. But I just realized you had to talk after I spoke on it. Anyway, okay. Thank you guys so much again for being here. That was the music of Dorothy Donegan, performed by the City Love NYC band, and that was Erika Renée. Our second poet coming is another sister, she family. Her name is Altovise. She was born in Pompano Beach, Florida. She's from Pompano Beach, Florida, but she's based in Brooklyn. And she, as well as Erika, performed at the Langston Hughes house. And she is a poet, writer, and playwright. So guys, she will be performing her own work to the music of Nina Simone. So let's give her a round of applause. Alto, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kendolyn, and thank you to the National Jazz Museum in Harlem for having me back. Really a little bit nervous because we have an audience this time, and last time it was just cameras. So I'm excited to share 5 new poems that I have written, and we're gonna start off with one that was inspired by a recent trip that I took home to Pompano Beach, and it is called The Native Daughters. The native daughters. Eventually, they come home with the world at their backs, a train of degrees flowing behind, embellished with new letters before and after their beautiful names. The children they've birthed, draped around their necks like strings of dark pearls, shining jewels, clinging to ankles and trimming their skirts. With dust on their feet, returning to streets where they reigned, at barefoot racing, dance battles, bike tricks, hopscotch, helicopter, horse, hide and seek, double dutch and talking smack. As they strut into town, dark pavement rumbles, bringing neighbors to their windows. Look, she's back. Ain't that her, the granddaughter, lil' cousin, sister of best friend? Remember when she used to be so quiet? Always had a book in her hand. Remember when she beat that girl up in 10th grade? Remember when she got caught kissing behind the church? Remember when she got pregnant from that old no good boy? Remember when? Yeah, they remember when. Y'all dragged their names through the mud, tossed them skyward, blew this way and that, blew them right out of town. But here they come, right on back. Walking tall, heads high, arms dangling, muscles taut, adorned with crowns, returning home as professor, hustler, doctor, designer, diva, esquire, boutique owner, child care maven, hair layer, fashion slayer, nail tech, clerk, journalist, singer, reverend, playwright, poet. Their pockets are full and their pride is golden. Ooh, and how the people wag their tongues. Child, them folks couldn't stop flapping their gums. I used to teach her, you know. I watched her on weekends when her daddy went missing, when her mama worked nights when they lost the house. When she got in trouble, I was there. It was me. I gave birth to all of these. They held out their palms to touch, to feel, grab a hold. Is she even real? This woman who we thought would never, couldn't even, should not. But she did. That and then some. They are real, almost too high to reach. So folks, just gaze, mouth open wide, speechless at the sight of these stars that have burst forth. They are their own constellation. They are a whole universe. So go on, orbit, gather round, gaze, and wonder. Your native daughters have returned. Thank you. Okay, so I have a nickname, 2 actually, and I wear one of my nicknames, Pumpkin, around my neck. And I really do like my nickname, but recently I've become just like, I appreciate hearing my real name out loud. And this poem is all about that, about having a nickname, but really sometimes just wanting people to honor your real name. And it is, the title of the poem is my nickname, Pumpkin. Today is the day. I want to be who I am and not who you have made me to be. So call me by my real name. Before I took my first breath, you chose for me, named me and renamed made me royal, but then cut me down, gave me a birthright. Junior, third son of, house of, image of God, Ben Ami, and because I am who I am, it is Bat Aldani. But then you reduced me to pumpkin, peaches, ooh, pudding. Yo, Big C, hey yo, Lil E, dirty red, baby girl, fat boogaloo, bop, boogie, blackie, scooter, cooter, cat. You disrespect me with $2. Taper me with sugar lump, sleepy and slack. My precious gift of a name, reduced, wrapped up before I could prove that I am priceless. Constantly addressing me with epithets, what is real, I honestly forget. But today, you will call me by my name. Today, you will acknowledge my birthright, my light, my essence, my spirit, my godlike image. Let me be who I am. I am David, Adele, Fatima, Serena, Chantel, Shakita, Jasmine, Jill, Brianna, Sabrina, Kofi and Kwame, Shawana, Sheba, Shayla, Quantasha, Queenie, Anita, Lakeisha, Leon, Ella, Elisha, Harrison, Hope, Prince, Hezekiah. Leave every letter where it belongs. Don't add, don't drop, don't chop, don't blend, mispronounce, misspell. Let me be who I am. Let me exist as myself, unreduced, recognized, revered, me. Today, I will be who I am. Thank you. So the next poem is about Black joy, and it is called Black Joy Comes Standard. Hey, I want to tell you a secret. So prepare your hearts and lean all the way in. Black joy is not a novelty. Black joy comes standard. To some of you, it might be a shock because the world acts like it forgot that we were born to shine. Journey to this rock, kicking and screaming in time. I have arrived, we sang. With delight, little hearts leap. Curious brown eyes and fat feet stepping gingerly, then tapping, then stomping. Now whole bodies showing off. Twirling, gyrating, every inch of flesh jumping. And then the laughter comes. The way we bend over. Mouth wide, seconds of no sound, tear-filled eyes, hands clutch bellies till jubilation escapes lips. We are tickled, so much so that we might run laps until hysterics calm down and the breath comes back. You feel it in our greeting, that sideways swagger, universally Black terms of endearment upon our meeting. It's the way we catch up, that colorful banter, and even juicier clapback in answer. The whole spectacle is a language of protection. It's I see you, I'm with you, a type of trash-talking affection, Black joy. It's the love around mama's table. The way she takes them staples, rice, chicken, ham bones, butter beans, cornbread, greens dripping with richness. Bits of animated storytelling through full mouths. The agora of the dining room where all your secrets come out. The bonds are sealed in Black joy. The arms that encircle, lift up, pull down, wipe tears from face, hands that anoint and pray, pull up just in time to save the day. It's how we survive. It's how we keep going. It's how we thrive. That is the standard Black joy. Thank you. I was supposed to do a little praise dance, but you know. trying to stay in my light right here. Okay, so this next poem is a love poem, and it is about all the ways that we sometimes are not good at love, and it's called Don't Know How to Love Like That. When it's good, it is so good. And warm and rich and sugary sweet like chocolate, your smell, your taste is intoxicating. It sets my flesh on fire. The very thought of you, I give my mind over to it like a pink cloud on top my head until it's no longer good, and then I'm gone. Ooh, but when there is passion, it is unchained and wild, liberated. The chorus of two voices, breathless bodies, we swirl through space, wrapping and unwrapping, chained and free, until the passion loses its appeal, and then I'm gone. Ooh, but when there is joy, the laughter is unruly, can't hardly hold it in, side-splitting, uncontrollable, even at the most inappropriate times, often getting us a side eye. Feel it in your chest like a bouquet of sunflowers sprouting from skin, rays of sunshine from lips, until the laughter stops, and then I'm gone. When we are in sync, it's like we are one being, folded into the same blanket of goodness, showing up at parties, coordinated outfits and all. Oh, that's your favorite? Mine too. You couldn't possibly. Never thought I'd meet another weirdo. Finishing each other's sentences, complementary energy, harmonious temperament, dancing to the tune of You Two Get Along So Well, until the music is off key and then I'm gone. Ooh, but when we rest, it feels so right to be at peace in your strong arms like branches, shielding me from the chaos of a world on the edge of ruin. I feel your lips on the crown of my head, a reassurance. The earth could implode, pulling us into unknown dimensions. Our vessels could morph into imperceptible bits of matter. But as long as you are holding me, I worry not. Our souls would dance into oblivion. I am safe under the shade of your tree until I let go, and then I'm gone. When it's love, it's real, scary real, like standing on a peak, gazing into the distant future, imagining what our grandchildren will look like letting our anger be healthy, pushing us to look inward. When we say we are sorry, we mean it. And it begins to change who we are, the shadowy bits. Love lets the light touch the sore spots. Old wounds find healing. The comfort of it all feels like your favorite sweater. The ones with the holes in the elbow, you wear it because you love it, no matter how tattered it gets. Unconditional, irrevocable, inexplicable love. But I don't know how to love like that. And so I'm gone. Thank you again to the National Jazz Museum in Harlem for having us back. Thank you, Erika, for being amazing. Thank you, Kendolyn, for inviting me back. Thank you to this band, because they're awesome all the time. So I'm going to read one more poem, and it is called Notes from a Black Girl's Journal. Pain. I'm working myself so hard, so fast, so much that I'm running myself ragged. Little things set me off. Tip the scales, topple the delicate piece that is holding my emotional state together. I feel trapped, put into a display case, closed tight. I could have chosen a more liberating life, but I wanted others to be proud of me. So here I am, a deeply anguished trophy. Dating. Do not rip my champagne glass from my hand. Do not rip my champagne glass from my hand while grabbing my other wrist. Do not rip my champagne glass from my hand while grabbing my other wrist and insisting that I dance with you. Do not rip my champagne glass from my hand while grabbing my other wrist and insisting that I dance with you when I already told you no. I do realize that the black leather skirt I wore had me looking fly AF, but this is not how I imagined you professing your love to me, drunk and aggressive. Self-love. Sleep happened. The sun finally rose. I woke up and reminded myself of one very important thing. True happiness comes from within. Reminder for later. You accomplished something you thought was impossible. 17 mindful minutes. Realizing/thankful for a gorgeous full moon, rosé bubbles, staying healthy during a pandemic, sleeping in, good books, PTO, approved, group chat joy. My home is a safe space. Outside. I have always loved nature, and nature has always reciprocated. My eye never misses a new bird. Slugs find their way onto my path. Turtles drag themselves to me for saving. Hummingbirds greet me at my window. Rare feathers reach up from high grass to be discovered by me. Serpents wrap themselves into bracelets around my wrist. I have always been wild, and the wild has always been with me. Healing. Sometimes a black woman's voice is the only medicine. When your eyes fill with lakes of tears and your heart levees creak, threatening to burst, the soul of you at the brim, moments from spilling over and pouring down onto the floor, a sacrifice, a drink, offering. And then, her high-pitched laughter, some grandmotherly joy, calms the storm, and the waters recede. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So guys, thank you so much for joining us. Altovise, let's give her another round of applause. Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause to the band. Thank you so much. So awesome. So guys, again, thank you so much for supporting Jazzonia at the National Jazz Museum in Harlem this year. It's been an absolute pleasure and joy to pay homage to our ancestors in this way. Thank you to the National Jazz Museum, to Ryan, to Martin, who's been here faithfully every session running the sound and the audio, so you guys at home can see it, whether it's Facebook or YouTube. Oh, I'm showing my age. Sorry, guys, I'm blanking out. Anyway, guys, if you want to see previous Jazzonias, they're all available on the Facebook and YouTube channels. So again, just thank you for joining us, and have a good night. Happy holidays. Thank you.